Hi students, good evening. I am Ilangovan, Axi.com online teaching personal for zoology. So last class we have started something about the human welfare and health and disease. And also we have classified the disorders of the diseases into two separate categories. One infectious, another one non-infectious. So the infectious disease we have started already the different types to begin with the viral disorders. We have bacterial, protozoan, fungal, and so on. We have the different types of infectious diseases, unlike the nutritional deficiency diseases, which is an example for non-infectious. So, under the viral diseases, we have the next one, German measles or rubella. So, we are talking about the rubeola, the common country measles, what we have in India. Here, the rashes are very small in the case of common measles, what we can say the rubeola. But in the case of German measles, here normally it's called rubella, caused by rubella virus. The rashes are somewhat larger when compared to the rubeola. There also we have the skin rashes. The mode of transmission for rubeola and rubella both are same. The symptoms also more or less exactly same. The only difference is the nature of the skin rashes. So, and also the causative organism. So the rubella, the German measles, is caused by the virus, what is called the rubella virus. And also it is being transmitted. Almost all the respiratory disorders normally follow one method of transmission, what is called the droplet infection. Droplet infection is the main cause of transmission of respiratory disorders. And also by means of contact, and also by means of indirect methods. So the contact by touching the person, or indirect method by using the fomites used by the infectious persons, and that is what's called indirect method. I didn't mention it yet, but actually we have also it can be transmitted by means of indirect method. So the main site of infection or the conjunctiva. That is why the main symptom to begin with in the case of German measles, also as in measles, the normal measles, we get the redness of the eyes. Sometimes also we have the discharge. So the main organs affected, the conjunctiva, the transparent layer covering the cornea of the eye is actually affected because the portals of entry for the virus is mainly through the conjunctiva and also other respiratory passages. So these are all the areas through which normally the virus enters into the body, either through the conjunctiva or through the respiratory tract. And the main sites of infection are these two, conjunctiva, respiratory tract, along with expression in the skin. You have developed the skin rashes. That is why these are the three different places we have the infection, either in conjunctiva or in respiratory tract or in skin. So, as in the case of measles, it is also associated with fever and water discharge mainly from the conjunctiva, the eye region. This is because of the infection and inflammation of the conjunctiva. So, fever, skin rashes that is normally appear as soon as you are infected with the virus after some days after the incubation period. So, we have also there's some sort of problems related to the mucus layer of the respiratory tract, inflammation of the mucous membrane. That is why the person is having always a running nose, as in the case of measles. Nose just actually sore throat, cough also there in the case of some instances. Now, prevention. So we have actually already mentioned for the normal measles, the MMR vaccination. The first M stands for measles, the second M stands for the mumps, and the third one R stands for rubella. So it is actually a vaccine having actually three different types of materials for curing, for preventing three different diseases. M for measles, then the next M for mumps, the third one rubella. So this is what is called a vaccine available for curing the three diseases: mumps, measles, the rubeola, and then rubella. Now here is a symptom. Normally, in the case of either measles or German measles, we have the formation of the rashes first appear in the face and in the neck, followed by the spreading of the rashes on the surface of the chest and then on to the abdomen also. So the even I mentioned here, rash first appears on the neck and face, followed by actually the spreading or scattering of the rashes to the rest of the body. So this is what we call in the case of German measles or rubella. So it is somewhat larger, the rash is somewhat larger than what is called the rubella. Now the next one, chicken pox. Once again, a most dreadful that is a viral disease. And the causative organism is nothing but a virus. The name of the virus, varicella zoster. So we have different types of actual poxes. We have, for example, herpes zoster. There you have the formation of cluster of spots or blisters in and around the mouth region and also in the neck region and some of the chest region in the case of what is called herpes zoster, one of the symptoms of AIDS. Now, the causative organism for chickenpox, varicella zoster, just like for example, variola for smallpox. Variola virus causes actually smallpox. Now, this is varicella zoster, responsible for causing the chickenpox. So, the mode of transmission is also mainly through the respiratory tract. So, we can see actually the portals of entry. The portals of entry means through which part of the body normally the virus enters into the body or the pathogenic microorganism enters into the body. And that is what is called portals of entry. We can use the word portals. The system through which the pathogen enters, either through the blood or through the respiratory tract or through the digestive tract or through the anus like that. That is called the portals of entry. Now the causative organism, where is the zoster? Once again, as in the case of measles, mumps, and also that is German measles, it is being spread by means of contact and droplet infection while coughing, sneezing, etc. from infected person. The droplets carry the microorganism, namely the virus, which is being transmitted to. Now, the main site of infection, you can say, the main site of infection is skin, rather than just actually that is the respiratory tract and conjunctiva. So, the respiratory tract and conjunctiva are infected or inflamed only because of the measles and German measles. Here also we have some of the inflammation of the respiratory tract occurs, but not much. Now, actually, we have developed the skin rashes, the symptoms. The skin rashes are called transitory. It's not a permanent one. It has to pass through different stages, papule, macule, blisters, like that. So we have received a poke marks also at the end of what is called the development of the disease. After recovery from the disease, we have some sort of poke marks also on the surface of the skin left by the blisters. That is why actually we have transitory skin rashes. From one stage to another stage, it has passed on. So we have macule, papule, like that, blisters. These are all the different stages. Finally, it forms what is called a fluid-filled vesicle. So that's why I'm using the word transitory skin rashes. Transitory means temporary. It's being transferred from one form to another form, as we have the different stages of formation of what is called the rash. So here we are using what is called antibiotics. No vaccine is available for chickenpox, but you have to use antibiotics for this one. So now also they are using the vaccine as what we are using for the smallpox. The same vaccine has been also used, somewhat, not much. Now here the chickenpox, unlike the rash, so we have developed to begin with a red spot. And this red spot passes through different stages, and also we have a vesicle finally, and it forms a blister, a fluid filled vesicle. Then after recovery, we have received what is called a hard crust. Hard crust appeared after recovery, as normally the disease is subsiding, and ultimately we have received a hard crust. The part, the scar, somehow actually the material, the dried part of the blister. So it begins as a red spot, and the final stage we have the blister, a fluid-filled structure. Ultimately, it subsides, leaving a hard crust on the surface of the body, which has been fallen soon after some time, leaving some poke marks. What we call this one poke marks, P-O-C-K, poke marks. Now, smallpox, as chickenpox is prevalent and present in different parts of the countries, in different parts of the world, but no smallpox at present. It has since been eradicated. It has been eradicated in other words since 1975. So no chances of smallpox anywhere else all over the world. It has been completely eradicated because of the vaccination or immunization program. Now, what is a causative organism? Here the name of the virus is called variola virus. And that one chickenpox varicella virus, and this is variola virus. This variola virus is more or less closely related to another virus that was normally first observed by that one Edward Jenner milkmaid persons, and that is what is called cowpox virus. So it is a close relative of cowpox virus. The name of the cowpox virus is called vaccinia. Vacca means that one in Latin cow, vacca. The word vacca refers to cow in Latin. The word vacca refers to cow in Latin. And similarly, vaccinia means cowpox in Latin. Vaccinia means cowpox. So the cowpox virus is called vaccinia virus. And whereas the smallpox virus, the one which causes smallpox in man, is called variola virus. But both are mostly related to one another. Now, what is the mode of transmission? So either chickenpox or smallpox or measles or mumps or rubella, all being transmitted because of coughing, sneezing through the droplet infection, and also by using the fomites, and that I use the word contacts. So either by direct contacts or by means of indirect contacts. So direct contacts through droplet infection from one person to another. Indirect contact by means of using, for example, some articles used by the infectious patients, the infectious persons, for example, the handkerchief, or we have the glass tumblers, or any article that is being used by the infected persons will transmit the disease, and such infected articles are called fomites. The infected articles are called fomites. Handkerchief, the glasses, or anything else, they are called as a fomites. They transmit the disease, hence called indirect method. Direct method, sneezing, coughing, etc. That is called droplet infection. Indirect method by contacting the objects used by the infectious patients, like the fomites, in the form of handkerchiefs or glasses or tumblers, anything else. Now, which is the site of infection? Normally, here also the respiratory system is not affected, as in the case of German measles. There you have, that one respiratory system is affected, the measles also. So, as in the case of chickenpox, here also only the main target organ is skin. The respiratory system is not being affected. Now, how can it prevent? So, by means of vaccination using smallpox vaccine. Smallpox vaccine. So, the smallpox vaccine, that one vaccine is nothing but a suspension of microorganisms in a fluid medium that is being used for imparting immunity or resistant power. Suspension of microorganisms that cause disease in a modified form, suspended in a fluid medium. So normally what we use, for example, smallpox, to eradicate smallpox, the vaccine contains nothing but the vaccinia virus, not the variola virus. The vaccine contains vaccinia virus, the cowpox virus. So it is being attenuated. Attenuated means weakened. So it is being modified in such a way that it cannot produce disease, but it can impart immunity. And such weakened germ is called attenuated germ. Attenuated. Attenuated germ. So there is nothing but modified form of virus so that the virus can impart immunity instead of causing the disease. It stimulates the production of antibodies. So the weakened germs are suspended in a fluid medium, and that one is called attenuated or avirulent strains. We can also say avirulent strains, non-pathogenic, non-poisonous strains or microorganisms are called avirulent. We're also using the word avirulent. So the avirulent strains are mostly called as attenuated strains or weakened germs. They can impart immunity without causing the disease. So vaccination, it contains vaccinia virus, the cowpox vaccine. So the cowpox, what is called the virus. Now I mentioned already smallpox has already been eradicated completely since 1975 March. So there is no evidence of smallpox at present because of the immunization program. Intensive immunization program since 1975 now eradicated the smallpox completely in India and also other parts of the world. And it was, that when I mentioned Edward Jenner in 1798, he was the first person discovered smallpox vaccine. So Edward Jenner was the first person discovered, you know that one, the cowpox in the case of milkmaids. And later just he found there are certain viruses called cowpox viruses responsible for causing the disease. The same one when introduced in the body of human, they also cause disease, what is called a smallpox, but not by that is vaccinia virus. Some modified form of vaccinia virus, what is called virus. So he was the first person just actually observed cowpox in the case of milkmaid, and later he was the first person to discover the smallpox vaccine against smallpox in 1798, and that has been used since then at present also. Now the next one, very important disorder, an infant disease. An infant disease affecting mostly the children or the newborn. Poliomyelitis, commonly known as polio. So it is caused by poliovirus. So unlike smallpox, chickenpox, measles and mumps, this is being transmitted through contaminated food and water like cholera. So through contaminated food and water, that is the mode of transmission. So the contaminated food and water which contains the virus is responsible for causing the disease. And which part of the body is most affected? See, in human body we have the nervous system. We already see the nervous system consists of the central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system in turn is formed of brain and spinal cord, and it is a spinal cord that controls the voluntary movements of skeletal muscles. So in the case of polio, the person is affected, unable to walk normally, atrophy of limbs, atrophy of limbs. The muscles being degenerated, all conditions occur because the organ which is affected is nothing but the spinal cord. It is a controlling center of the skeletal muscles. That is why the child is unable to walk, unable to move, unable to do some activity. This is because the central nervous system, mainly the spinal cord, the one which controls the reflex activities and muscular activities, are affected. Now, what are the symptoms once a person is infected with polio? We have high fever, headache. But the major symptom you can have, for example, the stiffness of the neck. The neck becomes stiff because of what is called the spasm of the muscles of the neck region, spasm of the muscles, tightening of the muscles. The muscles once become tightened or contracted, unable to relax. Then another important symptom that causes what is called paralysis. So that is why we have a massive immunization program against polio. Even also the last 1919, you see that one polio day or polio Sunday. So want to give more booster doses to the children in order to avoid what is called the development of the disorder. Because most of the children are affected by polio, but now it has been reduced. So the incidence of formation of polio has been reduced because of the immunization program and massive immunization program against what is called polyvirus or polio drops. So main symptom, you have high fever, headache, the stiffness of the neck. I mentioned already, infantile paralysis. The child is unable to walk. The limbs become atrophied. I'm using the word atrophy. So atrophy of the limbs. Medicine, in the case of polio persons, the limbs become reduced in size. The muscles have been degenerated or lost. That condition is called atrophy. Nothing but shrinkage in size. The size has been diminished, the limbs particularly. And also the child develops pain all over the body. Main symptom paralysis, the stiffness of the neck, and also the child feels pain all over the body muscles. So nowadays vaccines are available. You know that one, two types of vaccine. One is called oral polio vaccine, another one inactivated polio vaccine, OPV. Another one inactivated polio vaccine. So this is by means of oral drops, and this is inactivated polio vaccine by means of inoculation, injection. But nowadays we are using mostly only this oral polio vaccine, the oral polio drops. That is why in the last Sunday also we had this one polio day, the Sunday. Now the oral polio vaccine was first recorded by Sabin, and this IPV, what is called inactivated polio vaccine, has been just shown or discovered by Saul. So the OPV vaccine is called Sabin vaccine, and the IPV vaccine is called the Salk vaccine. So there is a vaccine what we are using against polio. That is a common disorder in the case of mainly that is children. So normally the immunization program started by actually the World Health Organization is to fight against six diseases. Six diseases. That is one of the six diseases. You have this oral, just what is called the polio. I mean, it's like polio. So polio, we have just norm the disease affected with three disorder DPT. And also we have just polio. This is diphtheria, pertussis, and tetanus. Polio. Then we have the measles and tuberculosis. DPT, MPT, or simply we can say PMT. So these are all the six diseases against which a massive immunization program has been organized by the World Health Organization. Diphtheria, pertussis or puffing cough, tetanus. Then we have, for example, I am using the word MPT instead of PMT. I am using MPT for easy remembrance. Measles. Then we have polio and tuberculosis. Measles, polio, and tuberculosis. So there is a massive immunization program that has been started by the World Health Organization against these six disorders. Now the next one, rabies, hydrophobia. As a person who is having this disorder is not liking water, it is called as actually hydrophobia also. Now, what is the name of the virus? As it is being transmitted by the moving dog in the street. So, stray dogs are responsible for causing this disorder. That is why it's the virus nickname street virus. It is called street virus. So the virus is not roaming, but actually the animal carrying this virus is roaming all along the road, the street. For example, the dog, a mad dog having this virus. That is why the virus is called street virus. This virus is also called as rabies virus, which belongs to one group, what is called rhabdovirus. The group is called rhabdovirus. So that is the nature of the causative organism. And what is the mode of transmission? Simply by the bite of infected animals, particularly the mammals, either the dog or the cat, even the rat, even the bat. So, bite of infected animals like dog or cat or even bat and rat, these are all the animals responsible for the transmission of the virus from one individual to another. The main site of infection is the brain. That is why the persons develop some sort of problems. So he is having to know that one alternative, just excitation and depression. Excitation, depression, these two are taking place alternately. This is because of the effect of the brain, the one which is being affected by the virus. So the virus is normally passing through the bloodstream, reaching the brain and gets settled there and affecting the brain and its activities. Now, what are the symptoms? As a result of this one, as the virus reaches the brain, causing damage to the brain cells, we can have what is called severe headache, fever. And another symptom, the person is unable to even eat or even drink liquid food. And this is because of the tightening of the muscles of the neck and also the tracheal muscles. So the person is unable to swallow or even just drink a liquid food. This is because of the spasm of throat and the chest. Because of involuntary contractions of the voluntary muscles. Because of the involuntary contractions of the voluntary muscles. We know the skeletal muscles are called voluntary muscles. They are working under our control normally. But in the case of hydrophobia, they are not obliging the brain because the brain is already in question. It is not just in normal position. During the activity, it is being affected. The function of the brain is affected because of the presence of the virus. That is why we have the tightening of the muscles because of the involuntary contractions of the voluntary muscles. The muscles, the skeletal muscles are contracting, not under the control of the brain. As a result, the tightening of the muscles occur so that the person is unable to swallow even a liquid food. So, on looking water, he is feeling what is called fear of water. Even also looking what is called the chill aerophobia. You can also say aerophobic. The chill air. Once a person is allowed to be there inside AC room, he cannot tolerate. That is called aerophobic. Now here on showing water to this person, he is disliking water. He gets agitated. That is why that is a fear of water. Hence the disorder is called hydrophobia, disliking water. And what is the prevention? So vaccine is available. A new vaccine has been normally just invented by Louis Pasteur and also modified in 1980. And that one is called human diploid cell vaccine, HDC vaccine. So the vaccine has been prepared by means of one method deployed cell strain method. Cultivation of animal viruses, we have different methods. So primitive actually what is called primary cell culture, or we have deployed cell strain or continuous cell lines. Here human diploid cell has been used for the cultivation of this virus in a medium, that is in vivo medium or in vitro medium. So by which we can make or cultivate this virus that can be used as a best vaccine against what is called the rabies. So but the rabies vaccine was first reported or made by Louis Pasteur. So Edward Jenner made smallpox vaccine. The rabies vaccine was made by Louis Pasteur. He also made vaccines against cholera, anthrax, etc. But most famous work of Louis Pasteur was just the development of vaccine against rabies. So he is called father of immunology. He is called father of immunology, Louis Pasteur. Now hepatitis. So we are thinking that AIDS is the most dreadful disease. Now in recent times, it has been formulated that when compared to AIDS, the hepatitis, what we have, the disorder, particular hepatitis B, it is being considered as one of the most dreadful diseases when compared to AIDS. The persons affected with the AIDS virus can live for a long time. But a person infected with the hepatitis B virus cannot live for a long time, he will die soon because this virus is more dangerous. That is why nowadays we are providing immunization for hepatitis B also, particularly hepatitis B. We have many types: hepatitis A virus, hepatitis B virus, delta virus, non-hepatitis A virus, non-hepatitis B virus for causing this hepatitis. But the most dangerous one is hepatitis B virus. Now, hepatitis, any word ending with the suffix tis referring to the inflammation of that organ. Hepaton, the word refers to liver. That's why it's called inflammation of the liver. So the site of infection in the case of hepatitis is nothing but the liver. So the inflammation of the liver causes hepatitis. Now, what are the types? We have two types as mentioned in the syllabus, hepatitis A and hepatitis B. And what are the causative organisms called for causing A and B hepatitis? So hepatitis A is caused by HIV virus, hepatitis A virus. And hepatitis B is caused by B virus, HB virus, HBV. So these are the two different causative organisms. Though both of them are causing hepatitis, the portals of entry is different for both these viruses. For example, hepatitis A virus enters into your body by fecal oral route. The meaning for that one fecal oral route, actually from the feces released by the infected persons, and that feces or undigested waste contaminates water and food. While we are eating such a contaminated food and water, the virus enters into the body, and that mechanism is called fecal oral route. From the undigested waste released from the body, and that one contaminates the water or food, and through that one it enters into the body while we are eating through mouth, hence called fecal oral route, and that is for hepatitis A. For hepatitis B, it is actually by transfusion of contaminated blood and blood products, by blood transfusion. So this is what is called parenteral route. Parenteral. This method of entering of the pathogen into the body through contaminated blood or the transfusion of blood and blood products, then it is called parenteral. Parenteral route. So we have fecal oral route just from the infected or just contaminated food and water of the virus through mouth, and parenteral route it is being transmitted through contaminated actually needles. And when you are using the syringes for transfusion, at times it is being transmitted through contaminated food and the actually contaminated through blood and blood products. I mentioned already the word hepatitis referring to the inflammation of the liver. So the site of infection is nothing but liver. The site of infection is liver. And what we have main symptoms I mentioned earlier, the inflammation of the liver. And that one is accompanied by we have. Once the liver is affected, what will happen? We are having the feeling of loss of appetite. Loss of appetite. So loss of hunger. Then also we have the sensation of vomiting, what is called nausea. So nausea, loss of appetite, and also we have the symptom, what is called the jaundice. So jaundice is a disease related to the pigments of the liver. So we have one pigment accumulates more and more in the urine, and also we have the yellow hue all over the body surface and also in the eye region, yellow hue, yellow color, yellow hue. Hue. This is because of the accumulation of one of the products of bile in a pigment. That pigment accumulates more and more in the bile, causing what is called jaundice. This is because of the virus that causes damage. So we have hepatitis may be caused either by means of virus or by means of some other factor. Accordingly, we can say non-hepatitis and also infectious hepatitis, non-infectious hepatitis. So infectious hepatitis caused by the hepatitis virus. Non-infectious hepatitis is caused by certain other factors, for example, consuming alcohol more and more. Because alcohol, the main just actually the product being degraded one in the liver. Almost all the medicines, the alcohol, the formation of waste products like urea, all being formed in the liver. That is why the liver is considered as the machinery of the body, the factory of the body, responsible for degradation as well as synthesis of glycogen and also degradation of the bile pigments, etc. So anyway, all the functions being sacked by the virus once it accommodates itself in the liver, leading to the inflammation of the liver and causing jaundice and also a kind of cancer. Hepatic carcinoma. Hepatic means the word referring to the liver, carcinoma means cancer in the epithelial cells. So the cells, the epithelial cells of the liver are affected leading to liver cancer, and that is called hepatic carcinoma. Jaundice because of the effect on the bile pigments. They are being degraded, they are being accumulated. And nausea and vomiting, this is because of the loss of function of the liver, unable to just break down fat or anything else. That's why we have the feeling of loss of appetite and nausea. So all are interrelated because of the viral effect. So one way or other, we have the accumulation of the different disorders related to the liver due to the virus. Now, for hepatitis B, the vaccine is available. HAV or HBV. So for HBV, we have an antigen available a vaccine is available, one which contains an Australian antigen. That one is prepared apparently from an immune individual. So, vaccine is available. This is called what is called HPV-AG. This is called the vaccine, which contains Australian antigen obtained from apparently from, we can say, non-immune individuals, or simply we can say I can make a mistake, so I can change it. So it is being obtained from an immune individual who has developed some sort of antibodies. So there is a vaccine. So HPV vaccine is normally prepared by using the antigen available. So here the antigen is nothing but the virus available in the body of a affected person, immune individual that has been isolated, extracted and used as vaccine preparation. So anyway, prevention vaccine is available for hepatitis B. Now, so far I studied a number of viral diseases. You will be getting more will coming for 12th standard. Now, some of the viral diseases, the most common disorders you might hear these words: dengue fever and yellow fever. Dengue fever and yellow fever. So dengue fever is caused by dengue virus and yellow fever is caused by arbovirus. The dengue virus is a kind of flavivirus. Now yellow fever is caused by arbovirus. Though actually they are all two different types of viruses, but the mode of transmission for these two fevers normally is the same. So these two fevers are transmitted by means of one mosquito. What we call this one Aedes aegypti. So this is a mosquito, you know that one, when you hear this one, it can lay its eggs even on dry land, even in a small pool of water, just it is stagnant in a tire, etc., or in a small pot at home. And normally, the animal, the Aedes mosquito, is highly sensitive to cold. But the eggs are normally viable even in high cold situations. They are resistant to cold, but the adult is not resistant. And another example, another actually one of the characteristics of this is Aedes aegypti. and it can normally bite just in the morning or late in the afternoon. Unlike the Culex mosquito or Anopheles, they're biting us in the evening, but this one is now biting us in the morning or late in the afternoon. That's the main difference between Culex and Anopheles with the top Aedes aegypti. So anyway, dengue fever, yellow fever, or the viruses are caused by the viruses, namely the dengue virus, norovirus, but the mode of transmission is by the same vector, namely Aedes aegypti mosquito. So far we studied the number of viral diseases. Only a little bit about that. So now let us discuss about the different types of bacterial diseases. How are they transmitted? How are they responsible for causing damage to the human lives? So one, the cholera. So normally when you hear this word cholera during festive times, it most often frequently occurs. So it is called as a disease of antiquity. A disease of antiquity. That means the ancient disease, the oldest disease. It has been prevalent since from the origin of humans. So that's why it's called as ancient disease or disease of antiquity. Now the causative organism just actually a comma-shaped bacterium with the flagella. So this is the bacterium and that is called Vibrio cholerae, a comma-shaped bacterium. And here cholera, dysentery, typhoid, polio all being transmitted mainly through contaminated food and water, all are interrelated in the mode of transmission. So that's why they call as water and foodborne disease. Water and foodborne disease, for example, typhoid, cholera, dysentery, either bacillary dysentery or amoebic dysentery or polio, all are actually considered as water and foodborne disease, and they are being transmitted through contaminated food and water. So what is the mode of transmission? I mentioned earlier, transmission through contaminated food and water. Then, and in the case of actually cholera or dysentery, one question we have, these disorders like cholera, dysentery, either bacillary amoebic dysentery, more prevalent in tropical countries than in temperate zones. What is the reason for that one? In tropical countries, we have more houseflies. The houseflies are acting as mechanical vectors for transmitting the disease. So wherever you have more number of vectors, so normally we can say, for example, yellow fever, dengue fever, malaria, filaria, even this cholera, all are considered as tropical diseases. The meaning for that one, we can have more flies like mosquitoes, house flies, and prevalent in the case of tropical countries, more suitable temperature available for them to spread. So that is why they can multiply, they can transmit the disease. That is why these disorders are called tropical diseases. Dengue fever, yellow fever, malaria, filaria, cholera, dysentery, all are considered as tropical diseases, more prevalence in tropical countries. This is because of the mechanical vectors and biological vectors like houseflies and also the mosquitoes. Now the site of infection where does normally the parasite live? So the small intestine. Now there it produces a toxin, the poison it releases. As the poison is released in the intestine, the name of the poison is called enterotoxin. Enteron, the word refers to digestive system. As the toxin being released by the parasite in the intestinal region, it is called enterotoxin. Then what are the symptoms? Once you are infected with the cholera, the first symptom you have the vomiting sensation. And secondly, profuse watery diarrhea. Profuse watery diarrhea means that continuously. Water is normally like diarrhea with more water. That is why it's called profuse watery diarrhea. And normally we are using the word, for example, ice water stool. So profuse diarrheal stool or rice water stool is the main symptom. The stool is looking like what is called the rice water, the one which is washed, the one which is obtained after washing the rice. So profuse diarrhea continuously, watery diarrhea, and that is why we have it is called as a rice water stool. As a result, what will happen? More water being lost. That is called dehydration. Whenever water being lost, we know that when the electrolytes also being lost. So both electrolytes and water being lost, that's what we have dehydration, loss of minerals. Ultimately, we have the concentration of the blood increases. The heme acidity also, the acidity of the blood occurs. So increase in blood acidity, increase in blood concentration are the ultimate effects. But the symptoms are diarrheal stool, profuse diarrheal stool, otherwise called rice water stool, along with the loss of electrolytes, water, and that's why I use the word dehydration. And we have number of actually the chemical drugs are available. So we are using what is called chemotherapy method for curing the disease. Chemotherapy, the treatment of disease by using chemical compounds and drugs, and that is called chemotherapy. So we are not using any immunization, but actually cholera vaccine is available, but it is meant for only a short period of what is called immunity. It provides immunity or confers immunity only for a short duration, not for a longer duration. So, and that is called a passive immunity. If any resistant power that is being present in the body only for a short period, then it is called a passive immunity, lasting not forever, only for a short period. That is why we are giving the cholera vaccine only during what is called festive times at the time of spreading of cholera. So it is mostly epidemic. So we have the different types of disease according to the mode of spreading. So whether it is being spread all over the country or localized area all over the world. If it is all over the world, for example, AIDS, a pandemic disease, pandemic. If it is spreading only a particular area or country, then it is called epidemic. If it is localized disease, then it is called endemic. So it is being an endemic spreading to different parts of the country during festive times, and that's why we are providing what is called the cholera vaccine. Along with we have the sulfur drugs available for curing the disease, like cholera. Now pneumonia, another dreadful disease. Pneumo, the word referring to the air trouble. So the main site of infection of this bacterium, this fever or what is called the disease is nothing but the lungs. That's why the name is given pneumonia. It's nothing but a fever. So it is normally caused by the Streptococcus pneumonia, now called Diplococcus pneumonia. It is also called Diplococcus pneumonia. The old name Streptococcus, the new name also Diplococcus pneumonia. And how is it transmitted? I mentioned already it is a respiratory disorder affecting mainly the lungs. Whenever you have the respiratory disorder, the mode of infection is mainly the droplets. And also by means of fomites. I mentioned what I mean by fomites. The contaminated objects used by the infectious persons like handkerchiefs or we have the glass tumblers or any other towels. So these non-living objects which have the disease causing organisms holding because of usage by the infectious persons or called the fomites. Now the site of infection you have just the inflammation of the lungs. So the disease normally causes inflammation. So normally the pneumonia caused not only the bacteria but also we have some viruses. We have the viral pneumonia also. For example, Coccus virus, respiratory syncytial virus, adenoviruses. So some viruses also cause pneumonia that is called viral pneumonia. Also we have mycoplasma, the smallest living organism like PPLO, smallest living organism by name PPLO, mycoplasma. It also causes pneumonia, then it's called mycoplasmic pneumonia. So mostly by bacteria and also some caused by viruses and what is called PPLO, pluro pneumonia like organism. This is the smallest organism in the living world. Now the symptoms. So the pneumonia fever, the name itself fever. So we have fever, chills, shortness of breath. The person is unable to breathe normally. Such a shortness of breath technically called dyspnea. The shortness of breath is called dyspnea. Unable to breathe normally. And also we have the sputum, that is a phlegm. The sputum is normally yellow color. So release of yellow color sputum. And also having the cough. So fever, chills, then the shortness of breath, one of the symptoms. This is because of the accumulation of mucus. So sputum, yellow color sputum release, and etc. All related to the respiratory system. So we can have mainly just the antibiotics available for the treatment of pneumonia. No vaccine, but we have antibiotics to treat. So most of the bacterial diseases have been treated mainly by antibiotics rather than the vaccine methods, except one or two. Now the third one, typhoid. So as it causes fever by causing damage to the intestine, it is called enteric fever. Typhoid is called enteric fever because the inflammation occurs only in the intestine leading to the development of typhoid fever. So normally the typhoid includes both the typhoid and paratyphoid fevers. And also we have other disorders caused by the parasite Salmonella typhi, for example, septicemia, gastroenteritis. So gastritis is different from gastroenteritis. So septicemia, gastroenteritis, enteric fever, like typhoid and paratyphoid, all caused by one species by name Salmonella typhi. So that is a causative organism. Once again, it is a water and foodborne disease because the disease being spread or transmitted through contaminated food and water. Then the site of infection, I mentioned already, the gastrointestinal tract, the whole tract being affected. That is mainly. So normally, you know that one in the case of typhoid, the name itself is a fever, headache, and also the inflammation of the small intestine, or simply the intestine, inflammation of the intestine. Then we have some sort of ulcers in the intestine. The spleen becomes enlarged, enlargement of the spleen, intestinal ulcers, and also we have the inflammation of the intestine or some other symptoms related to typhoid, in addition to fever and headache. And once again, here also we have just antibiotics available. You have to test whether you are having typhoid or not by using a test what is called Vidal test. We are using the test what is called Vidal test to find out whether you have the bacterium is formed in the blood or not. Now, tuberculosis, one of the most dreadful diseases, also considered as an opportunistic disease, waiting for a chance to enter into the body at any time where you have some sort of problem to the immune system. For example, the AIDS patient mostly affected by tuberculosis. So the AIDS virus normally just you know that one degenerates the immune system. Once the immune system is actually affected, immediately the first parasite that enters in the body is nothing but the tuberculosis bacteria. That's why it's called opportunistic pathogen. Opportunistic pathogen, waiting for a chance to enter the body once the immune system is affected. Now, the name of the organism, the positive organism, Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Mycobacterium tuberculosis. And as it affects mainly the respiratory system, the mode of infection, the mode of transmission is through only the droplet infection. Now, what is the site of infection? The primary site of infection is lungs. Along with the lungs, and in due course, other parts of the body also affected. We have the tuberculosis in the kidney, in the bones, and also in the intestine. So, particularly, we have dislocation occurs because of tuberculosis, that is in the joints. So, that is called pathological dislocation. Dislocation of the joints, particularly, for example, at the hip region, is because of tuberculosis in the joints. Then, what are the symptoms? As it is affecting the respiratory system, you have coughing, fever. Because of intense coughing, the person develops chest pain, shortness of breath, and also he is normally eliminating mucus or what is called the sputum. The sputum contains blood. So normal symptom is what is called blood spitting. So blood and sputum, I'm using the word. So we have blood spitting. This is a symptom, main symptom. When the person is spitting or just actually coughing, blood is coming out. And this condition is called hemotysis. 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 This condition is called hemotysis. Blood spitting or hemotysis is one of the major symptoms of tuberculosis. While spitting or while coughing, the blood is coming out along with the mucus or what is called the sputum. And also poor appetite and night sweat. So you know that one of the symptoms of AIDS, sweating in night. During the nighttime sweating, this is because of the tuberculosis bacteria. And also sudden loss of weight because it affects the bones, lungs, weight loss also happens. So all symptoms are related to tuberculosis. Now vaccine is available to control this disorder. The first vaccine to be given to the child, the newborn infant, is nothing but the BCG vaccine. After the name of two persons. So Bacillus calmette-guerin, calmette and guerin, two different scientists normally extracted this vaccine and prepared the vaccine from the Bacillus bacterium. That is called Bacillus calmette-guerin, two different scientists. So the first vaccine to be given in immunization schedule to the newborn infants as soon as actually born after 50 days is nothing but the BCG vaccination. First vaccine to be given to the newborn is nothing but BCG. Now plague. It is also called as black death. Or is it called as black death? So one of the symptoms of this disease is nothing but actually hemorrhage, bleeding in the bronchi and lungs. Bleeding occurs. The what is called the oozing out of blood. That is called the bleeding. And along with the bleeding, what will happen? The blood turns into black in color because of the breakage of the blood vessels. Ultimately, the death of the individual, hence called black death. So hemorrhages, release of blood, leading to black color, and death. That is called as black death. The causative organism, Yersinia pestis. The causative organism, Yersinia pestis, and gram-negative bacteria. Gram-negative bacteria. So normally this is a disease transmitted by a vector, primarily a disease of rat. One vector, a flea living on rat body, is responsible for transmitting the disease. So it is a rat disease. We can say rat, primarily a disease of rat, because one vector by name Xenopsilla, which is living on a rat body, which is commonly known as a rat flea. And that is the main one responsible for transmitting the disease. But sometimes it's also being transmitted through droplets in the case of pneumonic plague. So mainly transmitted by Xenopsilla. We have different types of plague. One type of plague is affecting the lungs, and that is called pneumonic plague. And that one is being transmitted through droplet infection, very serious disorder. So the site of infection, two areas mostly. One is the lymphatic glands or the lymph glands. Another one, what is called just the lungs. When occurs in the lymphatic glands and causes damage to the lymphatic glands, then it's called bubonic plague. The word bubose means lymph glands. Bubose. The word bubose means lymph glands. So we have two types of plague according to the location of the parasite or according to the site of infection. One is called bubonic plague, where you have the lymph glands are affected. Another one, pneumonic plague, where the lungs are affected. What are the symptoms? As the name, you see that one in both the cases. If it is what is called a bubonic plague, then ultimately the enlargement of the lymph glands you have. So the person develops what's called vomiting sense, nausea, weight loss, general weakness. All happens in the case of what is called bubonic plague. And the persons are affected because the mortality rate only 58%. Out of 100 persons affected, death only 58. That is called death rate or mortality rate only 58%. But in the case of other plague, for example, pneumonic plague, it is caused because of what is called the bacterium affecting the lungs. So there you have what is called the release of very watery sputum, which contain blood in it because of the breakage of the blood vessels in the bronchi and bronchioles as well as in the lungs. So that's why we have, I mentioned already, hemorrhage of the bronchi and lungs leading to the black color of the blood, and that results in the death of the individual. Here, once the people are affected with the pneumonic plague, there is no cure, so 100% death rate. All individuals die. But in the case of bubonic, there is a chance, 50% chance. So 58% mortality rate in the case of bubonic plague and just 100% mortality rate in the case of pneumonic plague. Now, next one, leprosy. As it was reported by Hansen, it is also called Hansen's disease. As it affects the society, it is also called the social disease. It is also another bacterial disease caused by Mycobacterium leprae. That is the name of the parasite. So normally the mode of transmission, though we are saying that actually there is no transmission of this leprosy from one person to another by contact, but for a prolonged contact, for a direct contact for a long time, for a prolonged contact with a person having a leprosy, that is direct contact, that results in the mode of transmission of the disease. So that's why I use the word by direct contact for a prolonged period, for a prolonged time. The person develops disease, a prolonged time with infected persons. So the site of infection we have particularly, for example, the skin. Then we have the somatic nerves, what we call this one the peripheral nerves, then bones and muscles. That's why we have what is called the atrophy of muscles at the fingertips in the case of lepers. So the parts affected are skin, bones, and muscles, along with the nerves. The peripheral nerves, those nerves carrying impulses to the peripheral organs. These are all the areas affected. As a result, as the skin is affected, one of the symptoms, how can you identify a leper? So they are scrapping, that one from what is called, that is a yellow region, and testing for it. Or if you have any patches less in color than that of the body color, that is called hypopigmented patches. If you have some patches, white patches, the patches are normally lesser in color than that of the body color, then the condition is called hypopigmented condition. Hypopigmented patches. And also we have at these points, suppose you have the disorder, if you are touching the yellow, you cannot have the feeling of sensation. So the skin sensation being lost. So total or partial loss of cutaneous sensation. Total or partial loss of cutaneous means skin sensation because of the presence of the bacteria. And another one, just you can find wherever you have the infections and the nerves become thickened nerves, where you have the bacteria is present, thickened nerves. So these are all the symptoms. And prevention use of drugs. We have a number of drugs available to cure this disease. So that is about the social disease, or we have what is called, that is Hansen's disease, after the name of the person. And another disease, most important one, dangerous one also, that is tetanus, otherwise called long jaw, because the strongest muscle in the body, namely the jaw muscle, being normally affected by this one, not allowing the muscles to move. So we have the mouth closed, the tightening of the teeth. This is because of the contracting nature of the muscles of the jaw. The person is unable to open, and that condition is called long jaw. So the organism is Clostridium tetani. So whenever you are getting injured, you know that one, while just doing physical exercise on the ground, the doctor or any person is advising you to get what is called TT. Because the parasite, namely the Clostridium tetani, enters into the body through the open injuries or what is called the wounds by means of spores. So spores are available, that is in the soil. So soil is the reservoir, but the main reservoir, actually the bacteria is produced in the body of herbivorous animals, mostly from the horses. So while the horses are releasing the dungs are releasing the soil. They are carrying actually the parasite to the soil. Once we are playing there, if there is any wounds happen in that area, there you have the spores of this tetanus bacteria which enters in the body, causing what's called tetanus. That's why we can have the contamination of wounds with the tetanus spores. The main areas affected are nothing but the muscles, particularly the voluntary muscles. I mentioned all this spasm, tightening of the muscles in the jaw region so that you are unable to open the mouth. That is why it's called as long jaw. So that is also resulting in painful condition. So painful spasm of voluntary muscles. Painful spasm. The word spasm refers to involuntary muscle contraction leading to the contracted stage. The muscles fail to relax, so we have the tightening of the muscles, and that condition is called spasm. And that is also prevalent in the case of, for example, the hydrophobia rabies disease. There also we have the spasm, so that you are unable to just even swallow liquid food. That happens in the case of and that is rabies also. Then the stiffness of the neck, as in the case of influenza. Or in the case of, for example, polio, we have the stiffness of the neck there. Here, particularly the muscles of the neck and jaw becomes tight, and that's why you are unable to open. So, stiffness of the neck muscles, the jaw muscles, and also the spasm of the voluntary muscles and the skeletal muscles, all related to the disease. The person is unable to open his mouth, and that is why it's called as a lockjaw. Now, what are the other bacterial diseases? We have a number of bacterial diseases. We'll be getting more and more in future. But I would like to give only the names of such diseases. For example, one, pertussis or coughing cough. And this is caused by, that one, Bordetella pertussis, one type of bacteria. Pertussis or coughing cough, the person is having a crowing sound while coughing or while what is called actually breathing, a crowing sound. This is because of the parasite. Diphtheria, a false membrane develops in the throat, in the tracheal region. The person affected, if he or she is not treated, he dies or she dies within 24 hours. So it is caused by another bacterium, Corynebacterium diphtheria. foreign bacterial bacteria. And finally, there are some diseases which are transmitted through sexual contact because of illegal sexual contact with affected persons. And those disorders which are being transmitted by means of sexual contact or STD, sexually transmitted disease, formerly called as venereal disease. And we have a number of actually sexually transmitted diseases. Some of them are caused by bacteria, some of them are caused by viruses, some of them are caused by protozoans. Now here I am using only one disease, syphilis. Another disease, gonorrhea. This is another sexually transmitted disease. And these are bacterial STD, syphilis, gonorrhea. Suppose the syphilis, the pregnant mother is infected with the syphilis. If she gives birth young one, the newborn child is blind. This is because of the bacterium which causes blindness in the case of newborn child. So anyway, we have those diseases which are transmitted by means of sexual contact or called sexually transmitted diseases, formerly called VD or venereal disease. Now examples are syphilis and gonorrhea. So we'll see some more diseases related to the protozoan parasites or any other fungal diseases in the forthcoming classes. As one more time, I'm concluding my part. So you are requested to ask any questions or post the questions we'll answer. Thank you. Now class is